Hello, good morning, and welcome, and afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. Wake up our other correspondent from the U.S., Rog, live on video. So let's call the man, the myth, the legend.
Hello.
Don't sound so disappointed.
I just woke up, that's why.
When you answered, all I heard was a big sigh.
Never get enough sleep. Hold on.
You are.
There I is. Somewhere.
Wow.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning. How's Europe?
It is sunny for the first time in months. The sun is shining. The cat wants to be in my room.
Oh. Is that a problem?
No. He usually ignores me. So.
Oh, yeah. Probably wants to eat that, huh?
It's because I pick her up. She doesn't like that.
I don't know, man. Let's see what's new overnight. Just grab whatever I got here.
That's what I'm gonna do. Oh.
I do have
You do have what?
some things. It was humorous content, but I didn't have anything to. Let's go ahead.
Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee on February 27th, 2023. In the Netherlands, billionaire windfall thanks to profit tax. Even more expected this year.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Is that the headline?
Yeah, that's the headline.
In other headlines, Dilbert comic strip gets pulled from every newspaper in the country, basically. Good.
The future of long COVID research in the Netherlands is uncertain.
Leaders of House China panel denounce attack on Rep. Judy Chu. Oh, I imagine we got some nice little old-fashioned white supremacy going on here. Go ahead.
In Ukraine news, Zelensky fires top military commander. Ukrainian army commander visits Bakhmut.
I don't have anything else right this minute. Oh, Cocaine Bear gets high with 23.1 million. There's your headline. There's your headline.
All right, clear the comms. Okay. Welcome for our first news story. In Billionaires rake in more money as usual. Last year, more income tax was received than ever before, and the amount is expected to rise even further this year. RTL News reports that 38.5 billion euros were collected last year, thanks to billionaires. The cabinet had originally counted on 27 billion euros in income tax on profits, so there's a windfall of 11 billion euros. The reason is that companies in the Netherlands have made more profit than expected. So all the poor people made got all their money taken by the gas companies and the electric companies, and 11 of that went back into taxes. Sources from The Hague tell NOS that companies are expected to make much more profit this year, and that income from profit tax will therefore increase further. Incidentally, the billion-dollar windfall does not necessarily mean that the cabinet suddenly has a lot of money left over. There are setbacks. For example, the energy ceiling, the cost of which has not been determined, must still be paid. In addition, interest rates on loans, including those of the government, are rising. Expiring loans must be refinanced at a higher interest rate. The cost of this can run in billions per year. At the end of April, more will become clear about the state of the government finances because the government will take stock in spring memorandum.
Well, they got more tax money because they tax the rich.
Yep.
The United States doesn't have that problem. Here's what happens here. The rich just lie about where they get their income from, and nobody ever checks on it because they never get audited.
Yeah.
So, yeah, rich people don't pay their taxes and they don't get audited. That's what happens in the United States, and it's been happening for years and years and years and years, and the IRS was cut back during the Trump administration for enforcement. But they did audit 2 FBI agents, a complete audit of 2 FBI agents who Trump didn't like. What a coincidence. Hey, Dilbert distributor severs ties to creator over race remarks, which is basically all newspapers have dropped them for being a complete fucking asshat. Dilbert comic strip creator Scott Adams experienced possibly the biggest repercussion of his recent comments about race when distributor Andrews McMeel University announced Sunday it would no longer work with the cartoonist. Andrews McMeel, chairman Andrews McMeel, what a name.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a long sentence. It says Andrews McMeel, chairman Hugh Andrews, and CEO President Andy Sarahan said in a joint statement that the syndication company was severing our relationship with Adams. This is from the AP, by the way. We're living on the AP this morning. And in the February 22 episode of his YouTube show, Adams described people who are black as members of a hate group. Oh, okay. That's where you're starting from. Okay, from which white people should get away. Various media publishers across the United States. Racism and hate. Really? You call black people a hate group. Basically ending his entire freaking career as anyone ever wants to listen to ever again. Except for the KKK.
Of course, yeah.
So, yeah, again, Dilbert, funny comic strip for many years, making fun of the corporate culture of basically just lying to your stockholders to increase your profits is basically what it is. It really did strike a chord with a lot of people, but recently he's turned into one of these Trumpers, and he lied about Trump. He said, well, if Trump gets elected and turns into Hitler, I'll be the first person to turn on him, and just kept making excuses for Trump after that. So yeah. He's completely full of it. So, yeah, good riddance. You know, go find yourself a nice little cross to burn, have a little ceremony, to declare yourself better than everybody else. You know, I'm the keeper.
Yeah.
You know. All right, go ahead.
Okay. In similar news, racist passages from the James Bond books have been removed. The passages the publisher believes are racist in the English language books by writer Ian Fleming about James Bond will be removed or amended in a new edition, according to The Telegraph. Publisher Ian Fleming Books invited a group of sensitivity readers to look at the classics, as they recently did with Roald Dahl's books. Roald Dahl, of course, the famous Dutch writer who wrote, I believe, Matilda? What else is he famous for? Pippi Longstocking, I think?
There you go. Yeah. Okay.
No, that's a different book. Different author. I'm trying to find, I can't remember what, The Witches, that was a recent film that came out. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Roald Dahl's books last Saturday were previously changed, and now the UK is also changing their famous James Bond series. This year marks the 7th anniversary of the first James Bond story, Casino Royale, which is why new editions of all Bond titles are being re-released. In the new version, the N-word will be no longer used, according to British newspaper. That is replaced by descriptions such as a black person. Also, characters' ethnicity has been omitted in some passages. The Telegraph gives some examples of other edited pages, although the publisher has not yet commented on these. For example, in the original text of Live and Let Die, 1954, a description of a group of African men working in the gold and diamond industry stated they are quite law-abiding fellows, in my opinion, unless they had too much to drink. Pretty law-abiding chaps, I should have thought, unless they're drunk too much. In the new version, according to the Telegraph, unless they had drunk too much, was omitted. Because that's a negative stereotype. Those black people only break the law when they're drunk. When, in reality, most people break the law when they're drunk. That's what being drunk does to your brain. But we get it. When Arthur Fleming, 1908 to 1964, was still alive, he gave permission for some erotic passages to be removed in his books or censored for American editions because Americans are prudes. That's not what the article says. That's my own personal opinion. He also agreed to adjust some racist passages in Live and Let Die. In the new edition of the books, according to the newspaper, an explanation is written that the books were written at a time when these terms that are now considered offensive were commonplace, and that some passages have been modified. There was a stir last week after English publisher Puffin announced that's a tongue twister. English publisher Puffin announced that it had adapted parts of Roald Dahl's children's books, among other things. The words fat and ugly were omitted from the description of characters. After the commotion that arose about this, the publisher decided that the original editions would remain available alongside the new text. The Dutch publisher of Dahl's book will not change the translations for the time being. Alright. So...
Well, people
not
will say this.
Censorship, just alteration.
The people in the United States will say, "Oh, they're just being woke," and my response is, my response is always, here's publishers who are seeing a way to make some money by releasing a new book that's already been written.
Yeah.
Years and years ago, there's no repaying their author. There's absolutely no cost other than printing and reissuing, and they make money. And everyone blames someone else for their profit-making decision. This is how it works.
Also, because you're yelling and screaming about the books, now more people are going to buy the books.
Yep.
Because you're talking, but you're giving them free press.
Yeah, the Dr. Seuss books a couple of years ago, they're like, these books have been banned. I'm like, they haven't been banned. Yeah, they've been banned. I'm like, no. The company that makes the books decided that they would make some money by reissuing politically correct copies of their, what was it? I saw it on Mulberry Street. Now, the original copies are worth more. And guess who has the most original copies of? It sure does. Not collectors out there. My copy of Mulberry Street's worth $500 now. Yay! But who has the most copies of the publisher does. They're making a shitload of money off these. But of course, the idiots out there are the ones that think the government's doing it. No, it's capitalism. Right.
Your story.
Next story. I love going off on that subject. I love it. And more racist idiot news. Lance Gooden of Texas is a racist. He's a Republican congressman from Texas. He's a virulent freaking racist. Here's the reason why. The leaders of the new House Select Committee on China defended Democratic Rep. Judy Chu on Sunday, saying it was abhorrent and acceptable for a GOP lawmaker to question. Why do they call it GOP anyway? Let's just call it the fascists. Sorry. Editorializing again. To question her loyalty to the United States based on her Chinese heritage. One of my colleagues, unfortunately, attacked Judy Chu, the first Chinese-American congressman in the United States Congress, saying that somehow she was not loyal to the United States. I find that offensive as an Asian American myself, said Representative. I am not going to be able to pronounce his name. Representative Raja Krishnamurthy the ranking Democrat on the panel. I mean, that's a long name, man. And it's got so many vowels. Krishnamurthy. It's just Raja.
Raja Krishnamurthy. Yeah.
Wisconsin Representative Mike Gallagher, the Republican chair of the China panel, who appeared Sunday with Krishnamurthy, can't say it fast, on CBS Face the Nation, said Gooden was out of line. Well, no shit. We should not loyal to the United States. This is out of bounds and beyond the pale, he said. The standard. I'm totally shocked. My little tiny caucus is full of racists. News interview last week. Gooden criticized Chu for her defense of Biden economic appointee Dominic Nick. How do you even pronounce that? This is Vietnamese name. NG. How do you pronounce? How do you pronounce that? NG. It doesn't make a sound in my mouth.
Who are we looking up now?
His last name is NG.
Oh,
Vietnamese, I believe.
Just go. What? I used to know this. Don't worry. Just keep reading the story.
Hey, how about putting a pronunciation guide in your stories? How the president named the president. The president named the president. Business Advisory Council, the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. Gooden questioned Cho's loyalty and competence. Okay. He also suggested that Chu, a California Democrat, should not have security clearance as access to classified briefings. Chu, the chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, was born in Los Angeles, called Gooden's comments racist, which is a banner, saying that the attacks on her and NG information. Pronunciation for that yet? NG? What is it? NG, little N, G, N, A, okay, A. Yeah, I want an AP and make them read that over and over again without showing me a pronunciation. Real nice job, guys. Like we're all going to be able to pronounce everyone's name because, well, I'm going to prove I'm not a racist by, stumbling through this name. No, I can't fucking pronounce it. Give me a guy. Jeez.
I mean, how are you supposed to know how to say something you've never experienced before? I know about the name because there was a lot of Asian people in my school. Right? Yeah. I knew at least 3 people with this last name. But yeah, see, even me, I got completely scared that I was going to say it wrong. So I had to.
Yeah, I'm not scared of saying it wrong. It's just I'm just pissed off that a news organization expects you to read things and go, how the hell do you pronounce that? It never any guidance. Go ahead, next story.
Wait, what was the ending of that?
That was the ending.
Okay.
Defended. It's just some racist asshole showing that he's a racist asshole. He must be from China. Well, you're white. You must be from Germany. No!
You must be from Russia. How do we know you're not a Russian agent?
Are white people from Germany? Oh, you're all German. Oh, they're Germany, aren't you? Right, people? Jesus.
All right. Speaking of being from another place, updates on the Ukrainian conflict, or war at this point, really. I think we can call it war because it's been going for a year. In the weekend overview, we've got President Putin has said that Russia should take NATO's nuclear capabilities into account as it aim is to defeat Russia. So he's painting a giant target on NATO. U.S. intelligence services in the CIA are convinced that China is considering supplying weapons to Russia. Several hundred Russian protests in the Russian embassy in The Hague on Saturday. They carried banners against the war in Ukraine, which started exactly 1 year ago on Friday.
This will happen.
The White House has given the green light to send M1 Abrams tanks to Ukraine in order to persuade Germany to send Leopard tanks. Jake Sullivan from ABC says Biden was initially reluctant to send 31 Abrams tanks because the Pentagon had told him they would not be useful on a battlefield in Ukraine. Leopard tanks, on the other hand, would make a difference. But Germany emphasizes that it would not send tanks without U.S. commitments. Send your shitty tanks, so we'll send our actual good tanks, Germany said. At 3 a.m., Central European Time, Zelensky fired the top military commander, Edward Moskalyov. I can't speak on normal days. He co-led the army fighting Russian troops in Donbass region of eastern Ukraine. The reason for the dismissal was not reported. In a one-sentence decree, Zelensky announced the resignation of his commander. He took office in 2022, shortly after the invasion. On the other side of Ukraine, ground forces of Oleksandr Syrskyi have visited Bakhmut. I said that in Dutch, I don't know how to say it in Slavic, to boost morale among soldiers. He spoke, among others, with Ukrainian army units that defend the city and the surrounding villages. In Telegram groups, soldiers from Bakhmut are full of praise for the visits of the 57-year-old army commander. Syrskyi listened to the unit commanders, addressed urgent problems, helped resolve them, and supported the military, one of the messages read. Resistance in Belarus. At 11:34 Central European Time, military planes were damaged in a sabotage. A Russian military plane was badly damaged in multiple explosions at an air base in Belarus yesterday. That is the claim of Bipol, an organization of former Belarusian agents who have turned against the regime of President Lukashenko.
Way to go, freedom fighters.
According to the organization, the resistance in Belarus is responsible for the sabotage of the airbase. They would have used drones to damage the plane. The airbase is located 12 kilometers from the capital Minsk. Authorities in Minsk and Moscow have not commented on the incident. According to Belarusian defense military, nothing remarkable happened.
If you live in
Belarus,
Belarus,
news from Ukraine.
I was going to say that like a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about this. If you live in Belarus and you think Putin's going to stop by taking over Ukraine, I get you some swampland in Nevada.
I mean, they already own Belarus, really.
Well, they own the president like they used to own the president of Ukraine. Right?
Yeah.
Remember that? Now that might not last either. That's what I'm saying. He might just say, "Hey, I don't know if I like this guy," because he's Putin and he's full of shit. Are we going to the next story?
Yep.
Okay, in entertainment news, Cocaine Bear sniffed up $23 million in its opening weekend, according to the studio estimates Sunday. While Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania shrank unusually quickly in its second weekend. Since I'm not a big moviegoer and I don't really big on superhero movies because I think they're cheating. All of them are cheating. If you're gonna, it's like, let's have this scene. Oh, let's give him a superpower to get him out of it. Okay, let's write that in. Okay, cheating's bullshit. I'm sorry, it's fucking garbage. Anyway, Quantumania was still number one with 32 million in ticket sales in the U.S. and Canadian theaters, but Ant-Man's sequel, which hit with some of the worst reviews and audience scores of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, dropped away. Good. 69.7 the second week. Crash that genre completely. Get rid of it completely. Just eliminate it. It's garbage. The last worst decline for the MCU, failing faster than Black Widow. Here is Black Widow's a superhero too, right?
Yes.
That pandemic released. Okay. Instead, Universal Pictures' Cocaine Bear ran page through multiplexes, scoring notably above expectations. Made for about $35 million, directed by Elizabeth Banks, Cocaine Bear stirred up plenty of buzz just from its title and made to go viral trailer. Cocaine Bear, scripted by Jimmy Warden and produced by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, managed to turn the bizarre true-life tale into a tongue-in-cheek box office hit. I can see this being a cult classic. I haven't even seen it yet. But
I didn't know it was based on a true story.
yeah. Well, it's based on a true story of a 175-pound black bear who died in the Georgia mountains in 1985 after eating from a duffel bag of cocaine that had fallen from a smuggler's plane. The smuggler, a former Kentucky narcotics investigator, parachuted to his death in Tennessee. It's just a happy story, huh?
Yeah.
Dead
Wow.
bear, dead coke smuggler. Audience discovered that this very outrageous hysterical comedy that our director Elizabeth Banks delivered. The film absolutely delivers on its preposterous promise. Of course, you can't lose to that. People want to come out and have a good time at the theater. Absolutely. I don't want to overthink Cocaine Bear. Cocaine Bear managed to overperform despite mixed reviews from critics. Again, critics, what are they looking for? What are they looking for? They're looking for fucking...
They're looking for art. They're looking for...
Yeah, Citizen Kane. No, you're not. You're seeing Sharknado 4, dude.
Sometimes people just want to have fun. Let them have fun.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's like going to see a Coen Brothers movie and expect them to be straight. Or not Farley Brothers, even the guys that made Airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah. In just about the epitome of counter-programming to Cocaine Bear, Lionsgate's Jesus Revolution also debuted strongly. The film, likewise inspired by a true story, stars Kelsey Grammer as a California minister and Joel Courtney as a youth minister to dramatize the movement of Christian hippies in the late 60s and early 70s. It was launched with $15.5 million over the weekend, advanced screenings. Produced by Kingdom Story Company, Jesus Revolution proved popular with the Christian audience and early surpassed expectation, earned A+ cinema score. So your Jesus movie finished number 3. Avatar 4, Avatar: The Way of the Water, Puss in Boots 5, Magic Mike's Last Dance 6, Knock at the Cabin 7, 80 for Brady. Ugh. I'm sorry, I love the actresses, but I hate Brady. Missing is 9th, and a Man Called Otto is still in the theaters, making only $850,000 at number 10. Wow, they really drop off fast, don't they? Number 1 is $32 million. Number 10 is $850,000. People just don't go to movies.
But that's not cumulative. That's just this week, right?
Right. No, estimated ticket sales through Friday. Yeah, it's for the week.
Okay. In my final story, we're going to discuss the future of lung COVID research in the Netherlands being very uncertain. Scientists in the Netherlands warn that the few studies into lung COVID could come to a standstill or be delayed. Funding for the researchers' salaries is not properly arranged. That is why researchers with rare knowledge about lung COVID sometimes switch to other projects, according to a tour by the NOS. We could miss great opportunities if the situation remains the same, says Judith Rosmalen, who, as a professor of psychosomatics at UMC Groningen, is the project leader of one of the largest studies in lung COVID. Because a lot of people have COVID, we have collected detailed data from people before and after the infection on a large scale. That is unique. So there is a momentum to learn a lot, emphasizes Rosmalen. Not only about lung COVID, but also about similar post-infectious syndromes such as Q fever fatigue syndrome and long-term complaints in mononucleosis, which may have the same mechanisms. Unfortunately, structural financing is lacking. The money is running out. There are usually large enough amount of financing for 4 years of research for PhD students to work on, but the lung COVID projects have a funding for a maximum of 15 months. Their researchers therefore received short-term contracts. And that means they don't work efficiently. Research is often still in the early stages in the first year. Until now, a lot of time has been spent on administration to guarantee patient privacy and legally arrange that there is access to all patient data. For now, they are waiting for Minister Kuipers to propose a new proposal to advocate for longer research. The Netherlands has asked the EU Health Council to discuss this plan during its meeting on 13th of March. It is unclear whether there is support for this in the EU, and if an agreement were to be reached, it is not clear when such scientific inventory can be started or who should do it. It is unlikely that the funds will become available immediately this year. Researchers are therefore trying to find money elsewhere. At the Amsterdam UMC, doctor and PhD student Brent Appelman is given the opportunity to organize a lot of long COVID projects in addition to his actual PhD trajectory around sepsis and COVID-19. But that is not enough. At a certain point, you have to go in depth, and that includes specialist tests, and that costs money. There is also such an organization in the Netherlands, the Long COVID Foundation. We hope to collect enough money this year to run studies for a year or even more, says Annelies Bos. In this way, we simulate new research and prevent research from coming to a standstill and crucial knowledge from being lost until the structural funding from the government comes again. According to Appelman, the latter should not be really in discussion given the impact of long COVID. Conservative estimates assume tens of thousands of people are currently suffering. You're talking about a disease that in the top 50 is comparable to the scope of Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis. Talking about words you can't pronounce. And the long COVID, with long COVID, you often have talk about young people. In addition to all social suffering, that is also an economic problem. If we don't find a solution, we will soon lose tens of thousands of people who could work for another 30 years. Oh, of course, we have to think about the economy. Gotta think about the workers. All right.
We gotta quantify this into something we can measure.
Exactly.
All right. You ready? Next one? Well, I think one more thing left.
This is the last story because we're hitting time.
Earthquake updates on Turkey lately, but this day in history, remember, Turkey was a 7.8. And this day in history, Chile, 2010, an 8.8. Wow. And if you want to put between a 7.8 and an 8.8, the magnitude of a 7.9 is 10 times what a 7.8 is. So exponentially, not 100 times, exponentially 8.8. So basically, if 7.8, if 7.9 is 10% more destructive, or 10 times more destructive, or whatever.
So this is 100 times more.
No, it's even more. It's exponentially.
Oh,
10
exponential.
to the power.
300 times.
No, 10 to the power of 10.
1,000 times.
No, 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times. That's way more than 1,000. Get with it, man. It's gonna have 10 zeros. One with 10 zeros. So yeah, it would be like that. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. Maybe it's twice as more. No. I was just reading this story. Either way, Chile, this one causes tsunami, devastated coastal areas. Doesn't give the death numbers, which is really Chile's just a mountainous country too. So
a coast and a mountain, yeah.
Definitely mountains forming all the time there. Today's birthday. Josh Groban, American singer, is born in 1981. Ralph Nader, born in 1934. Elizabeth Taylor, born in 1932. Joanne Woodward, wife of another famous actor, I can't think of his name right now. Paul Newman. Joan Woodward, American actress, born in 1930. 1902, John Steinbeck was born. 2015, Leonard Nimoy died at the age of 83. In 2008, William F. Buckley, American editor and author, died at the age of 82. In 1991, U.S. President George Herbert Walker Bush ordered a ceasefire effective at midnight and declared victory in the Persian Gulf War, which was basically just such bombing Iraq and then starving them. And they just surrendered in mass because they had no food.
Yeah, who'd have thought?
And so, yeah, camera crews were taking prisoners. Camera crews with no weapons were taking prisoners. Hey, we assembled a bunch of Iraqis
Please give
in the
us
desert.
food, anybody. Yeah.
We surrender. Feed us.
Messed up.
In 1968, Walter Cronkite decided that the Vietnam War was a complete waste of freaking time and told everybody on the news. And that basically was it for Johnson being president because he couldn't hold it together after that. And a couple of months later, he decided he wasn't going to run. And then we got Nixon. Yay. A little brief history of this country fucking itself. In 1951, the 22nd Amendment was passed that limited the president's term to 2 terms, which probably never should have been passed. Because, quite frankly, the only reason the Republicans are the ones that are in control of Congress, they got it passed because they were tired of losing elections. They lost every election since 1932, and, 4 consecutive terms of FDR and then 1 of Truman. They're like, oh, we don't want to lose. And, of course, they won the next election, and their guy only got to serve 2 terms. He would have won a 3rd, too. Eisenhower, he would have won a 3rd. He was popular. And in 1933, in Berlin, the Reichstag building caught fire. And then another coincidence of history. Basically, Hitler came to power, complete power, as a result of that. The same day in history that Walter Cronkite basically gave Nixon power by making everybody hate Johnson. Unintentionally, he was right, but it's like, Johnson's terrible. We want anybody. And Nixon didn't even win the election. Nixon didn't win the election, right? He didn't get 50%. It was a 3-way race. George Wallace won the election for Nixon because he took all the Democratic votes in the South. And that's today in history. Woo!
Woo! All right, I'd like to thank everyone. This has been Allison from the Netherlands reporting on random pieces of news from both the Netherlands and Europe. Hope to see you tomorrow on Tuesday for some more exciting banter, really, about the news.
All right, and that's for me. Be safe out there. This is Rogers.
Goodbye.
Signing off. Bye.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.